Hello, everybody. Welcome to Quilt Lab. I'm Diana. Welcome to my channel. Let me bring up this little piece right here. Welcome to Quilt Lab. Quilt Lab is our Sunday show here at Sew in Common, where we create beautiful patchwork in the hoop of our embroidery machine. Just like that. So easy to do. I'm so glad to have you all with me. If you're brand new, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're thrilled that you've stopped in to see us because especially today, it's the first Sunday in July. So we have a brand new block that we're going to talk about today. And I think y'all are going to like it. And once I show it to you, then I'm going to tell you kind of what we're going to talk about throughout the month, the rest of the month of July, because it has something to do with the block that I'm going to show you today. So I'm so glad to have you all with us. I have a share. Thank you for sharing a segment for us today. At the end of this main part, when I say bye and Sew Life Beautiful at the end, there will be two small demonstration clips for you to watch. Those are the how-to parts for making this block, okay? And then I will also tell you where you can get your pattern and all that good stuff. So we got lots to do today. So let's go ahead and get started for sure. Alrighty, so last month we did the spinning Argyle diamond block, and we did a lot of stuff with it. I liked that block a lot. But this month we have a whole new block to do. And it's now this picture I'm about to show you, I'm running out of ink. My pattern turned out okay, but I'm running out of ink. So I'm going to show this to you, and then we're going to do our thank you segment. And I've got a few announcements still to come at the end. This is our brand new block for July. It's called Points Home. Do you see that? It's a star. You know how they always say a star will point you home? So it's a star block, but it's made where it's all pointing inwards, and right there where that exit comes together, that could be home for you. So that's what I'm calling this block, Points Home. And this month, the block that we're going to, the part that we're really going to work on this month is our Flying Geese Unit. And I've got more for that to come. So get ready for that here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and do our thank you for sharing piece, because these blocks were sent to me by our dear friend Tanita. Thanks so much, Tanita. I love your colors here. Now, she said that she is working with her stash, with her scraps, and this block she used is our a strip piecing block from Build a Quilt, and I can tell you that you can just get that over at our website. And I'm not sure if this is a free block or if it's just a couple of dollars, but this might be our free block. Check it out though. If you like strip piecing, I know I have 2 strip piecing blocks over there, and it's one of my favorite blocks to do when I'm just using my scraps. But Tanita, I love your scraps. I know I would love this overall fabric. So I know like that is a tulip pink, and that is a tulip pink. And I think that is a tulip pink. And I think these are, oh, I know this designer. That I think is a Tula. A lot of these are Tulas. You're a Tula girl after my own heart, Tanita. I love that. But these are beautiful. She's putting together, she told me, a throw quilt for herself using these blocks. Now, these blocks are 5 by 5. So you can work with smaller scraps with them. And then the idea is you can add them into other blocks. You can make a whole quilt like Tanita's doing. She's doing a throw quilt with them. So thank you so much for sharing, Tanita. I love these, and I truly do love those fabrics. That's going to be a gorgeous quilt. So when you're done with the quilt top, at least, send me another picture and I'll be happy to show that, because I know we all want to see how it turns out now, right, everybody? So let's all in the comments, let's give Tanita a hand and tell her how much we want to see this quilt when she's done with it, because I certainly know that I do. Because for one, those are just like all my colors. I love those so much. So thanks again, Tanita, for sharing. If you have a picture of a block you've made that we worked on, or a quilt that we've made that you've worked on, and you want me to share it with everybody, just send me a picture at the email support@souncommon.com. And I will be happy to share that with everybody because I know that's how we all get inspired, right? So I loved that. So this month, like I said, we are working on a brand new block. Now, I've kept this month's block in the same size range as May and June. So you can make it as a 6x6, an 8x8, or a 10x10. And so it's going to, again, it's going to fit in with all those Riley Blake blocks that we've made. And if you are a Quilt Lab subscriber, okay, then you are going to get an email from me later this week. In fact, I have to make a note to myself to send it out. I've got so much going on this week. Quilt Lab subscribers, you are going to get this block. You're going to get the sizes you need to make this block as a 12x12 as well. That's a bonus for Quilt Lab subscribers this month. I don't always do an extra bonus every month, but for the Quilt Lab subscribers, when I can, I like to do that. And at the end of July this month is our next quarterly free pattern, exclusive pattern to the Quilt Lab subscribers. So if you want to join us and get the most out of your benefits of Quilt, get the most out of Quilt Lab, let's see, do I have something I can show you here? No, I don't. I probably got rid of it. Then you want to join Quilt Lab. Go to our website, souncommon.com. The very first thing you see on there is all about Quilt Lab. Quilt Lab is a subscription. It's for a whole year, runs from February through January. So it's not a January through December. I've got a little video out here on the channel that tells you all about Quilt Lab, but you can see all of the benefits on there as well. And so also Quilt Lab subscribers, keep your questions coming in for the end of the month Q&A as well, okay? But you'll be getting that 6x6 or the segment pieces so that you can make it as a 12x12 block later this week. All righty. So I hope you like that. So let me just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and show you again. It's called Points Home. You saw the wee picture. Here's the pattern. And in the pattern, of course, you get the cut sheets. Oh, there you go. That's one of them. And you get the coloring sheet. Now, we talked about the coloring sheet in more detail last week. And I will tell you that our friend Tanita gave me another idea to share with you all. And so if you weren't with us at Wednesday Night Live, I'll link that as well at the end here because Wednesday Night Live is all about our My First Build a Quilt project right now. And it's not too late to join us for it. I'm just writing down my links here. Wednesday Workshop Live. Okay. And Quilt Lab. Otherwise, I will forget to link them at the end. But Tanita told me in an email that she likes to do the coloring sheet on her iPad. And I never thought about that because I don't have an iPad that I use for coloring, that sort of thing. I don't have an iPad. So, but the coloring sheet, she puts it on her iPad and then colors it in. What a great idea. And I suppose if you just had any kind of a pad that allows you to color, you could do it, whether it's iPad or Android, whatever. So that's a great idea. And thank you to Tanita for doing that as well. And of course, you've got your layout for the single segment block and for the full layout. So I know you guys want to see the full block, right? So again, the big design board isn't behind me because it's in use for Wednesday night workshop. And it should be back in use with us again probably next week. But I've got everything pinned up on that, so I don't have any space for anything new. But I got these nice little flannel squares, thick flannel squares. So they make nice little mini design boards. And this is this month's new block, Points Home. This is the actual block. Didn't it turn out pretty? I love it. Now I'm going to tell you about the fabrics again here in a minute in case you want to use the same fabrics. They are color coded this way in the pattern, but of course you can use any fabrics in any color scheme you want. But you know, when I made that piece, I think last Sunday, I'm getting my Sundays all kind of mishmashed, but I loved that color combination of fabric so well that I used it again. I changed out the yellow. I used a different, it's still a Kimberbell basic, but it's the swirl basic in yellow that I used on the four corners. And then I used that aqua. This is called, I found out, it is a Kimberbell basic. This one's called the Tufted Star. I didn't know if it had a name. I looked that up. It's called the Tufted Star. And then this is a different Kimberbell basic in the red. Up here, I used the Tufted Star in red, but I didn't have enough of it. But this is a really, really, really close match. Then I just used white here. So 4 colors, but you need very little of the yellow, very little of your white. The most you're going to need is your aqua and your red. Okay. So this is our block, and this block is really easy to make because you're going to make basically 4 mini segment blocks right here. So you're either going to do 5x5s, 4x4s, or 3x3s. And then when you put them together, you get the 6x6, the 8x8, or the 10x10 full block. And super simple to do. You're going to make 2 flying geese units for each segment block. One is going to have the white center and one is going to have the aqua center, but the wings on all of them are the red, and that's what is creating our star points. So you see the overall star, and then it's all pointing, it's guiding us home into the center there. I know I've been thinking about Peter Pan and Tinkerbell and stuff lately, and so that whole point me home star thing kind of hit my brain this week. So super duper simple to make. Now, you've already made a flying geese unit with me before, if you've been with me even for a little while, because even the new My Quilt Lab or my Build a Quilt, my first Build a Quilt pattern that we're doing on Wednesday night, which is still available. I'll tell you more about that. We've done the flying geese units in that. We've already walked through how to do those. And then if you did the May blooming star block with us, then you did, because the rest of these are just corner pieces. They're just triangles, super simple. In fact, let me bring over another little board here. These are the 2 segment pieces. I know that's kind of bright. There we go. That's a little bit better. These are the 2 segment pieces you're going to make. Triangles, because again, we're really kind of, in a way, we're putting these 2 flying geese units on point by using those triangles. So let's look at this one right here. So here's our flying geese units, and you see it really is on point, like a diamond. And then with the triangles, we're making it back into a square. So just kind of like we did in May when we did things on point with the triangles. And so that one is super duper simple. Again, these demos are at the end. And then the other one is going to be your flying geese unit, and you'll make it in the 2 combinations, but your wings are always going to be done in your red fabric or whatever fabric you choose to replace the red if you want to do it in a different color scheme. I have a good friend. She hates red. She won't quilt with it. She won't put it in her quilt. She'll change it out every single time. So if you don't like red or one of the colors, feel free to change it up however you like. And then your main goose part, the goose body, I call it, will be in white or in the aqua. So those are the 2 segments. I wanted to show you this separated out because I know sometimes when you're looking at, whoops, hanging up wrong. When you're looking at the whole piece, it's kind of hard to tell what you're looking at. But those are the only 2 pieces we're going to make this month to make that entire block. It's going to go super quick and fast for you. By the time you're done with this block, you are going to be a pro at making flying geese units. And flying geese units are really helpful pieces in a quilt. And that's kind of what we're going to base this month about. Different ways we can use the Flying Geese unit and different things that it can do for us within our quilts. All righty. All right. So let me tell you real quick about the fabrics that I used. I'll show you bigger pieces. So this is the red I used. This is a Kimberbell Basic. I just know all these never used to have names. They just used to be called basics. And now some of them are getting names. So, but that's the one there. Now this is, now we know it's Kimberbell Basics Tufted Star in aqua. And the one I used back there on that block, which could also be used on this block, is the Tufted Square in red, the Kimberbell Basic Tufted Square in red. So you could use that one if you wanted to. And then just, you're going to need a little bit of white or cream. This really isn't a stark white that I'm using. It's something I call candlelight or candlelit. It's just ever so not white, but it's not quite ivory yet. I really love this color because I don't always like stark white. That's what I used. Actually, I did use a stark white on that one, and it's pretty, but you can see that on this one, it's kind of, you can't really tell much of a difference, but this is that candlelit color. In fact, I'm thinking the one back there is candlelit as well. Those are just too close of a match. All righty. And then the last one I used was this yellow for this block. And this is just called Swirl, I think. And it's a really pretty, I know it's kind of hard to tell a little bit on screen, but it's a really pretty buttercup yellow. It's just really, I love it. It's one of my favorite yellow colors. Okay, so those are the colors and the fabrics I use. I know that where I get my fabric, they've got they carry the basics by the bolt, so I don't have any problem getting them, and you shouldn't either. If you go online, go like search Kimberbell Basics, and if they have most of the basics, you'll find them, or put in Kimberbell Basics like in a color, like Kimberbell Basics red, and it'll bring up all the different basics in a red, and you'll be able to find this one or the tufted red. And then if you put in aqua, this one should come up, that kind of thing, or swirl yellow, that swirl should come up for you. Okay. Or if you go to your fabric shop, and if you have somebody local, I always recommend that you go to your local retailer. Of course, I just live in a rural, we have no quilt stores here in our town at all. Hopefully that will not always be the case, but for now we don't. And so I go about 2 hours away to get my fabric, but they don't carry Kimberbell at all. So I go to an online retailer to get my Kimberbell fabrics. So, but if you have somebody local, and your local person might be able, if they don't have it in stock, but they carry Kimberbell, they can probably order it for you. Like the shop I go to, they don't carry Kimberbell at all and can't order it for me. So I'm kind of stuck there. And in that case, I don't have any problems supporting someone online. So, alrighty. So that is this week's block, 6, 8, and 10 inches. This is the 10-inch. So again, this will go nicely in with the Riley Blake block challenge blocks that we did. It'll go in with these extras that we did during the month of June with the Spinning Argyle Diamond. Like that one is a mix and match with the star in the middle is part of a Riley Blake block, and the rest of it is from the Blooming Star that we did in May. So this size is the same size as that one. And then the other nice thing about this is in this 5x5 size, this makes a nice center for something. And the way I do it, if you were going to do it as a center block, I would put it somehow, like I would add triangles on it so that the points are pointing down or something. I would like make a feature out of that one piece. You could certainly do that as well. All righty. I showed you the pattern set, and the pattern set can be found at the website sewincommon.com. In fact, hang on just one second. I'm going to grab my first Vilda quilt pattern. I'm going to show you that. I had it sitting right here. I'm such a goof. So this is the my first Build-A-Quilt. This is the first in my first Build-A-Quilt collection. What's different from these patterns and the block patterns that we do in Quilt Lab is that they're done, of course, the same way with the Hooper Bar embroidery machine. But this pattern set, this is the project. It's a 20 by 20 wall hanging, or you can put it on a table if you want as a topper, a table topper. But that's great for new beginners. But if you're a more experienced Build-A-Quilter, by doing, say, 9 or 12 of these, you can come up with a nice size throw blanket, or you could even do more of them, these large blocks, and make an even a bigger quilt if you wanted to. And then your segments can be mixed and matched. And the My First Build-A-Quilt pattern sets all come with a simple finished quilting design. And that's actually what we're doing Wednesday night at Wednesday Workshop Live. So if you haven't done it yet, you want to kind of check out the last couple of lives where we've worked on the segment pieces, see where we are. And then Wednesday night, we're going to do the quilting on this. We'll talk a little bit more about the layout and do the quilting. But the thing about this, during the time that we are doing this pattern, this whole pattern set is only $5. Now I'm kind of dark. There we go. Well, hang on. There we go. There's some more light. Is only $5. That's an incredible buy. Once this pattern is finished Wednesday night, this will go back up to a normal price of $12.95, which is still an incredible price when you consider you're getting all of your segment pieces, your coloring sheet, all that information, plus you're getting your finished quilting. So that's what we're doing on Wednesday night. I hope you can join us. We've been having a great time on Wednesday night, so join in the fun. And then, now that we're speaking of Wednesday night workshop, I will let you know right now that we will not be live on July 17th. We won't have a Wednesday night workshop on July 17th because I am going to be at the county fair all day long. I am one of our local counties. I am their quilt judge every year, their head judge. And so I go and spend the whole day at the fair judging. I start with the little kids. I go through the older kids in 4-H, and then I do the adults. It's a lot of fun. So no Wednesday workshop this week. No, the 17th. Sorry. This week it's the next week, 17th, but we'll return on the 24th. So never fear. And on the 24th, who knows what we're going to be doing on Wednesday Workshop Live. You'll have to come and tune in and find out and join in the fun. Answer the weekly question. You could have a chance to win a free Build-A-Quilt pattern as well. So we do lots of fun stuff on Wednesday night. So, but nothing on July 17th, and then we're back on the 24th. All righty, everybody. Once again, here is the website for you if you missed that. All of our patterns. This one and this one, which is our brand new one for the month of July, called Points Home. I just love how that star turned out. Isn't it amazing? This is one of the things I love about quilting is you can take different segment pieces and make all kinds of things. And star blocks are so beautiful. And a lot of times we make stars using different segments, but to use these Flying Geese units, it just makes the most beautiful 8-pointed star. I just really love that. So you can get that there. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and become part of the Build-A-Quilt family. We would love to have you. We get up to some kind of crazy nonsense sometimes, but we do a lot of beautiful quilting in between. And there's so many of you. This week, several of you wrote to me some really kind words about Dave, who visited with us 2 weeks ago on Wednesday Workshop Live, or 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I guess it was. So I sent those on to him. It made his day. So thank you all so much for that. You can also get the My First Build-A-Quilt collection Stars and Diamonds at the website through Wednesday night for $5. That's a great price there. Alrighty, I think that is everything I've shared with you. I've shown you the new block. I've shown you the segment pieces. Are you ready for the demos? They're coming up. So as always, everybody, you know, I think the world of all of you, and we only grow when you guys like and share. That's how we've grown to be as big as we are. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Again, welcome to anyone who is with us who is new. And of course, welcome to everyone who is joining us once again. It's always a thrill to have you with me. And then until next week, go sew life beautiful, everybody. Bye for now. Hello, everyone. We're here at my machine. This is the demonstration for a simple triangle block, just like the one we see here. I know it's hard to see, but if I hold it up, you can see where the triangle is. Now, triangles aren't used a lot, but sometimes they're used to create larger squares. So you'll have a square, and then you'll put a triangle on each corner, and that will give it make it a larger square and turn it 90 degrees so you can have your inner square on point. So it is a useful block to have. And typically you start out using a rectangular piece of fabric, and then you trim around it when you trim it out. It's just like making the square, which is 2 simple steps. The first step is to stitch machine step 1 directly onto your stabilizer, which is wash away. Then you'll put a little glue. There we go. Now I'm using my gray thread that I always use, but let me take it out so you can see it better. You can see, and that also is not only the boundary of this piece, but it's also the placement of this piece, because it's just that simple. Now I'm going to put a little triangle and a dot of fabric glue there, and I'm going to take my piece of rectangular fabric and just lay it. I know there's my point. I've got plenty of room here. There's the bottom. I've got plenty of room here, so I can even move this up and give myself plenty of room on top. There's my top and bottom, so I'm great. There's my sides. I'm great. Now we're going to do machine step 2, and this piece will be done. That's how fast and easy it is to do triangles. Now, if you have our blooming star block, that is a block where we used these triangles to set our center square on point. Now, if you do this in a traditional way, there's lots of measuring and cutting and all kinds of craziness that has to go on to get those right. But it's really simple to do with our embroidery machine. We just do what we just did. And now we have our triangle. I'll cut that out 1/4 inch all the way around, and I'll be ready to add it to my block. Enjoy. Okay, here we are at my machine. Now I'm using a Brother, but whatever machine you're using, you've loaded your file with your either a USB stick, or your machine might allow you to do it via Bluetooth or a wire, whatever you use. Let's just talk real quickly about fabric prep. It's really important to prep your fabric in advance. So one, it's a more efficient process for you. So here for my Flying Geese unit, I have my rectangle and I have my 2 triangles. Now, how did I get these 2 perfect triangles? You're told in the instructions to cut a square, and then this is one of those times when you're told to subcut. And to subcut these squares, you're going to cut from diagonal point to diagonal point with your ruler on your cutting mat. And when you do that, you get your 2 triangles, and then you have the perfect 2 pieces. So that's what is meant by subcutting. Now, you can see I keep a little basket with my tools, the ones that we just talked about, right here next to my machine. So they're all in one place. They're not rolling around on me. Today, I'm going to be using black thread so that you can see it. However, my favorite thread is 0184 by Isacord. It's a light dove gray. It's actually called Pearl, but it's the perfect color for piecing. It won't show through. You won't get shadows from it. if when you sew them together, you see a little bit of it, it's going to blend in with your fabric. It's not going to be any kind of a problem. But today I'm going to be using black so that you can see it. And I have my hoop all set up with my wash away stabilizer. And I am going to link my stabilizer video at the end of this video for you, because it's really important to use wash away. Other in the hoop type quilting systems will use a poly mesh, and that's okay, but there is a real reason as a quilter we want to use a wash away, and that's all in the video for you. So I will link that at the end of this how-to video. So now I've placed my hoop, and I'm going to start with step 1, machine step 1, and that's what it will say in your instructions. They will call these machine steps. It's stitching out. Now, machine step 1 and machine step 2 on your Flying Geese unit is stitched directly onto your stabilizer. What it is giving you is an outline of the piece, and it's giving you a placement line. Step 2 gives you the placement line for placing your first piece of fabric. So here we go on number 2. Excuse me. Now, regarding your fabric, I give you really generous cut sizes because we have to make sure to have enough to come over our border line so that we can trim it at the end. And I don't want you ever, when you flip your fabric, to be in a scenario where you don't have enough for the flip. So I'm going to remove my hoop a little bit right here so you can see it. Now, this is the perfect time for the next step, which is machine step 3, to place a little of your glue stick right here in that center triangle, and then place your first fabric just like it says in the instruction. First pieces of fabric are always laid right side up. Now that's plenty of fabric, and you'll see that here in a second. Like I said, my cut sizes for you are generous, so that you don't end up, having problems on your edges and your flipping. So now this is machine step 3, and it is tacking down our fabric number 1. And you'll see that in your instructions. Now, in the instructions, it's going to tell you, we need to remove, to trim along this edge and along this edge. Don't trim beyond the boundary here, because we'll trim that at the end when we trim the whole piece out of the stabilizer. Don't trim above the point of the triangle, because again, that's the outside of your overall piece, and you want to be able to trim that later. So let's lay this on a flat surface, and let me adjust down my camera. There we go. Now you can see it. I've got my scissors, and I'm going to trim roughly a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here. I just eyeball it. I don't mark it. I don't put a ruler down and mark it or anything like that. If you feel more comfortable, you can, but really you're just trying to eyeball that. And I've left all of that up at the top over the border, and I'm going to do that again over here. I'm going to leave plenty above for trimming later. And I'm just trimming this right off. There you go. So now I'm going to have enough when I stitch across this later. I'm going to have enough of this up here to trim off, and I'll have plenty down here as well. All right, your next part of your instruction says to lay piece number 2 right side down on piece number 1. So second and subsequent pieces always get laid right side down, just like that. Easy, right? Now we'll place this back into the machine. And let me bring this back up a little. There we go. And we're going to do machine step number 4. And I'll just hold my stabilizer down there a little bit so you can see it. Now, the next step is number 4, which says to flip fabric B, this is fabric B, into space 2 and stitch machine step 5. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there in space number 2, and now I'm going to flip my fabric. And this is when you can use your seam roller to kind of give that a little press, or you can use your fingers, either way. And now machine step number 5. And I just kind of, as it's working, sometimes I just kind of like let my fingers guide it a little bit, but please keep your fingers well away from the needle and the mechanism. Now on this one, there's no need to do any trimming at all because all of your excess fabric is outside the outer boundary box, and that will be trimmed later. Then we're on to our next step, which is number 5 in the instructions. And this is piece number 3. And again, it's your other triangle. So it's just like we did the last one. We're going to place it right side down, but on the other side this time. There we go. And now we're going to do machine step 6. And you're going to get a perfect flying geese unit every time you do this. And flying geese in the more traditional patchwork process can be a little bit complicated. There's measuring and things you have to do. With this, it's easy peasy. Now I flipped that, I put a little glue in there, and now we're going to do machine step 7, which is just going to tack it down here on the other side. And I'm just going to kind of just like petting it a little bit to keep it flat. The glue will hold it there though. Okay, so now we're ready for our very last step, which is machine step 8. But I want to talk to you really quickly because this is where you would use tape to tape down where your fabric comes together. And that will allow you, let's move our camera down, that will allow you, your foot, not to get caught on the fabric and flip it over and end up causing trouble. So what I do is I take a piece of my embroidery tape, I tape it down, I give that a little rip there. So that's one section. And I have 3 joining areas on the Flying Geese unit at the top peak and in the bottom 2 corners. So I have those taped. Now my foot, when it's going around to do our boundary box, which becomes our guidelines for sewing our segments together, it's not going to get hit. Let me see if we can move our machine a little bit closer. There you go. I think that's a little bit better. I had it a little bit far away. Now we're going to stitch down the final machine step, which is machine step 8, and you will have created your first Flying Geese unit on your embroidery machine. See how simple it was? Just so you know, I'm using 700 stitches per minute, and if I were just doing this and not talking, my machine says it takes this 2 minutes to stitch out. So really quick and easy. Okay, now we can remove this. Now you'll want to remove your tape, and then you'll take the whole thing out of your hoop, and then we're going to trim these. And we'll trim all 3 of our demonstrated segment pieces at one time. So I'm not going to do that here. And now we are ready. We finished our Flying Geese unit, super simple, and we are ready to move on to our split rail block.